guys, and welcome.
Welcome everybody to this live program that's being recorded. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we get started today, we want to give a shout out to number one, Nichols State University for hosting this free seminar for all of you. We also would like to thank participants. We have company people who are here with us, and we have students who are here with us today. So the companies that I know are participating are Cardiovascular Institute of the South is here, yay, 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 and Synergy Bank is also here, so thank y'all for being here. For you students who are here, many of you I know, many of you, this is our first meeting. I want to tell you that I'm most appreciative that you are here at this training that your teacher made you come to. And so you're at a mandatory training, and so thank you for being at this mandatory training. And there's one more person that I would like to thank, because he has done so much behind the scenes, and he's sitting right behind that camera, y'all. His name is Jared David, and Jared is the superhero here. So my co-presenter is Melanie Boudreau. My name is Mary Chauvin. In 2003, I started a company called Etiquette Center of the South. This company began working with children out of my living room. It grew into a national speaking company, and now I go wherever people call me to go. So that's a little bit about me.
And my name is Melanie Boudreau. We're actually in my classroom, which I miss a lot. I miss all of you guys. I'm so glad to see you guys here. And we welcome you. For those of you that don't know me, I am a two-time graduate of Nichols. I have my undergraduate in business management and my MBA from Nichols, and I'm currently in a PhD program at the University of South Alabama in Mobile. And right now, we had to Zoom last weekend for 3 days straight at 8 hours a day. So I have a lot of good tips and information for you guys, so we're excited to see you. So I'll let Mary get started.
Thank you, Mel. All right, so to begin with, I just want you to kind of notice the topic of this. It's Netiquette 101, but it's actually professional technology communication. Many companies most recently are contacting me. This is one of the biggest, hottest programs going right now for obvious reasons. And the big picture here is this. Company people want to make sure that they maintain the culture of their organization when people are communicating from home and when they're in places other than the office. And so that's a really big thing, and it's also a hard thing to do. So this is to help with company image, for people who are here with the company, to help you to make sure that you are projecting the company image if you're working from home, all right? Because or even if you're not, it doesn't matter, but it's all about maintaining the company image. For the students who are in here, what I want you to know is this is actually this program is focused on business etiquette and professionalism and when to be the most professional. And so with that being said, if you are in a situation that's more of a personal situation, with your texting, with your emails, and with your Zoom calls, these rules will not apply to all of that, all right? So let's just get that straight, all right? So here we go. The agenda today is we're going to talk about business texting, business email, and then business virtual calls. I'm going to do the texting and the emails, and Ms. Boudreau is going to do the virtual calls. Whenever I do a communication talk, I always start off with the hierarchy of communication. And most of you that's been in my class knows this. This hierarchy changes though. There's actually a new one that's on here. So in the hierarchy of communication, the first, number one, best way to communicate will always be face-to-face communication. In face-to-face communication, you get the whole picture. You get the body language, you get the verbal clues, the nonverbal clues, you get the words that are coming out, and then you also get like the vibes that the person's putting out. The next one, and this is the new one that's been added. This used to be a list of 8. This is now a list of 9. And the next one is the virtual call. And so that's what Melanie's going to be talking about in just a minute. That's what you're doing right now, is the virtual call. So this is new for many people. Let me tell you how new it is. It's so new that I've been in business 17 years, and this is the first time I do this kind of program. So if I mess up, y'all just kind of give me some leeway here, okay? Okay, so then the third one is phones. Phones used to be number 2. So the live phone call is number 3 because you still hear the tone of the voice and the quality of the voice of the person. The next is the voice message, a live voice message because of that, because you hear the tone of the voice and the quality of the voice. Next is handwritten notes, which actually we don't, that's not used a whole lot in business except if you're a student and you want to write a thank you note. You want to do that before you would type a letter, all right? So handwritten notes will always take precedence over the typed letter. What I want you to know here too is if you have a poor handwriting, then I do suggest that you type the letter, but that you hand sign the typed letter, all right? Number 7 is emails. Number 8 is text messages. And number 9 is social media, when you're communicating on social media to a group of people as well as when you instant message on social media. So the number 8 and number 7 are actually the ones that most of us use the most. I have had people, I'm on Facebook, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on Instagram. I don't check them a whole lot. But I have had people contact me for business through my Facebook iMessages, and I don't even get the messages till maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, which is not a timely response. So the reason the arrow is here is because the higher you go on this hierarchy of communication, in most instances, the more effective your communication will be. Keep this in mind. We are going to talk about this in a little while. So let's talk about the business text. Here are some statistics, outdated statistics I might add, but nonetheless, it's going to kind of like, you're going to go, yeah, I get this. So 85% of employees in companies use their personal cell phone to send personal messages during working hours. So that has a huge impact on the bottom line of a company. I just need you to know that. And not only a huge impact on the bottom line of the company, think about how it interferes possibly with the kind of service that the company is giving. Think healthcare here, guys, think healthcare. The next one is 90% of text messages are read within 3 minutes. Huge. So people will respond to text messages. Now that was all the way at the bottom. That was number 8, but people are actually, this is where people are living right now, is in the text message world. 209% of people respond to texts over emails, phone calls, or even wanting to meet people now face to face. So your highest response rate will be when people send texts. All right. So to, excuse me, to get tips here, what I did was I did a little true and false, so everybody has the ability to comment. And so with that being said, I think that if you get this true and false, just be real mindful. This is the most professional way to do it. There's always exceptions to the rules. And if you comment in the field, the answer, I'm just gonna tell you, if you get it right, you get 1 point. If you get it wrong, I'm giving you 2 points because you tried, and you're gonna learn because you got it wrong. So yay you for just trying. All right, you ready? Here's number 1, true or false. Ask permission to send a text. Just let me stop right there because I actually have a sheet so I don't have to keep looking back. So ask permission to send a text. What do you think it is? True or false? Put your answer in the blank right now. True or false? Do we have an answer? Yeah, anybody put it? It is actually true. So this is, to me, this is one of the most respectful things you can do with social media, or not social media, I'm sorry, but with cell phone communication or any kind of relationship, is you ask the person, what is your favorite way to communicate? Do you mind if I call you? Do you mind if I text you? How do you want me to do it? Tell me how you want me to do it. Very respectful. So that's a really good must-have that I would use if I were you. Number 2, reply quickly to a text. Reply quickly to a text. True or false? Most of you are going to get this one right, I know, and it is true. And so you want to reply immediately because people are expecting you to reply immediately. But there are exceptions to that. And the exceptions are that when you're in a face-to-face conversation with someone, it comes across as rude. It's if I'm having a conversation with you face to face and I get a text and I pull out my phone and I start doing this while you're talking to me. That's rude, okay? So you wanna try to avoid that. And I'm gonna tell you another time to not text, reply immediately, is if you're in a meeting, okay? So that should not, unless if the text has something to do with the meeting, all right? But then you let people know that that's why you text them back. All right, so let's go to number 3. Number 3 is spell out all the words in a text. So for the business text, should you spell out all the words? And the answer is, let's see who gets this one right. It is true. If you got false, you get 2 points. Don't worry about that, okay? So this is the thing about being most professional. Your text and your emails should be, all the words should be spelled out. The spelling should be correct. The punctuation needs to be correct. And the grammar needs to be correct. And if you're anything like me, you probably need to take your time to look that over more than 2 times, maybe 3 times. That's if it's the most important and you want to make the best impression. I even have somebody on my team that I hired to look through my stuff. So shout out to my friend who does that for me. All right, so it's very important. Remember, if you're doing this for your business, you are a reflection of your company with these communications. Number 4 is insert emojis for clearer messaging. Anybody knows what that one is? The answer to that is false. In a business text, save your emojis for personal text. Okay, so save them for that. And I just want to give you a little beware here with the emojis, and that is beware in a personal text. I'm sorry, in a business text to make the best impression, to avoid humor, because much of the time it does not come out on that text. Humor, you don't hear the tone. People can't really hear what you're saying. All right, so number 5 is, it is acceptable to send a quick text during a meeting. Okay, so sending a quick text during a meeting is acceptable. All right, and of course, most people's gonna get this one right, and that is false. Are y'all getting this all right?
They are. They're doing really well. I'm so excited.
There you go. And so this is false. There is an exception to this, and I kind of just mentioned it before, but I want to say it again. Is like, say we sit in a meeting and we're talking about the latest and greatest coronavirus symptom or cure, and we don't know what it is, and somebody says, hey, let me look it up right now, does y'all mind? And then they take out their phone and they start doing it. So then that would be okay.
People are sending you emojis right now.
Thank y'all for emojiing me. All right, number 6. All right, number 6 is keep your text as brief as possible. True or false? Okay, so this one is true. This one's true. The reason that this one is true is because in a professional messaging, you should have a certain, I'm gonna put this down and tell you this. So there's a certain length when you start moving up the hierarchy of communication for professional communication. So if it's a text, your text should not be very long. If your text needs to be long for a professional message, you need to jump to email, because that's where the length comes in on the email. And then even much of the time, the email might be too long, too hard to answer, too confusing, cause conflict, cause confusion. That's when you jump to number 1, to number 2, now it's the number 3 spot. You do a live phone conversation, a call with somebody. And many of you probably are doing this now. I know that I do this now in business, is lots of times I even set up a phone meeting now, because people are so busy and you just try calling and they're busy. So now I even use, try to respect people's time and set up calls so that we quit missing each other, so we don't go back and forth.
They are getting these all right.
Okay, way to go, team. Number 7, having your phone always in view takes away from your professional image. And so that is absolutely true. I'm just gonna tell you this, is we have now, in our culture, we now are addicted to our cell phones. And some of you may be carrying your cell phone and you don't even realize that you're always looking at your cell phone. The way that you're gonna know this is some people will complain. And that's how you're gonna know. Those that love you the most are gonna say, pick up your phone and look at me. It's time for us to talk. Okay, so if that's happening, if you keep hearing that message, then you may have like an addiction that you wanna kind of start being mindful of. So, there you go. Being glued to your phone is distracting to others, and it takes away from your professional image. Number 8. All right, let's see how you're doing this one. This one. Checking your watch when in a meeting is acceptable. Ooh, that's a new one. All right, and of course, are they getting this one right? Are they putting false?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So this is new, guys and gals and ladies and gentlemen and whoever's out there watching this wonderful program. But this is new. So I do orientation every single Monday morning at a local facility. And so whenever I begin my program, I always say, everybody please take your phones off, make sure it's silenced, make sure it's on mute, and take it completely off of the training table. Get it completely out of sight. I don't even like it on the table. And so they do that, and everybody's all good with that, and then all of a sudden I see, and I'm like, oh gosh, so let me just tell you this, that's just as distracting as when your cell phone is out, so I just want you to know that. Is it socially acceptable behavior? Depends where you are. Depends where you are. If you're trying to make the very best impression, I strongly recommend you probably don't even wear that watch, okay? And you keep that phone picked up. So just know that these rules happen depending upon where you are.
People are saying especially Apple Watches.
Yeah, well, it is. Thank y'all. Yes, Apple Watches, not this one. All right, number 9. Oh, this is a good one too. Observe office hours when sending a business text. Now, most people, are y'all gonna say true? Because that's absolutely true. It makes common sense, right? This is all about respect. And this is about respecting other people and other people's time, but it's also about respecting your time. So I actually did some work for a large hospital in New Orleans last year, and I was working with a team of 3 executives. And this one nurse executive was wanting to come email me or have a communication with me. Obviously, she was busy during the week and couldn't do it during the week. I woke up on a Sunday morning and I happened to be checking my emails like most of us do when we wake up. And I'm checking my emails, and at 4:30 in the morning, she had emailed me a message. And I was like, wow. And it's fine. I mean, it's what she wanted to do. She didn't expect me to respond. But I'm going to tell you, I don't respond on Sunday mornings at 4:30 in the morning. Okay? So you want to be respectful of people's times. This goes for everybody except for if you work for a company that pays you for 24 hours a day. Okay? So then you might have different rules at different companies. Okay, number 10, so there's exceptions to all the rules. Okay, number 10 is clearly sign off with a closing message. And most of you will say, yes, that's true, and yes, it is true. And so what this does is it puts closure to your text. So it puts closure to your text. You should do this also in your emails, but it puts closure to it. So in other words, something like, thank you, I will get back with you soon. Boom, so now you know you're free to go and everything's you finish your text. All right, so how'd y'all do on that?
We did great.
Everybody did good?
Yeah.
Okay, so this right here is just a warning. Cell phone addiction is absolutely, all cell phones are addiction. This is real stuff. This was a card that I saw in a store one day, and the guy's tied underwater and tied down underwater. All he cares about is his cell phone. While we're talking about beware of cell phone addiction, I want to also add right here just to beware of the kind of text that you send. So I'm going to read to you a text that I've got. This was a personal text, and it's something that I received, and I'm going to let you know what it said and then how I reacted to it, all right? So this is what it said. Now this was personal, from a personal person, okay? So it wasn't a business, but I just want you to see how things can get so messed up. Hey, just letting you know, I am in the hospital, but going home today. The doctor called with my blood results and said my hemoglobin was very low and I needed to go straight to the ER and get blood. So here I am. So this text came from my sister. And I looked at this, who works at a bank, and she was supposed to be at work. And I was like, oh my gosh, my sister's in the hospital. I didn't know she had hemoglobin problems. Oh my gosh, so I hurried up and I was like, what am I gonna do? I can't call her because she's at the hospital. Let me just call her work, see what time she had to leave to go. Well, long story short, she answers the phone at work and she was like, hey, this is T, la la la. And then here we go with this, and I said, T, I thought you were at the hospital. She copied and pasted, or screenshot, I should say, a text from somebody else she got and was sharing it with me, is what happened. So be careful with screenshots and forwarding any kind of messages. Be careful with that. All right, let's move on. Okay, the business email. I'm gonna show you 2 slides here. The first slide's gonna be like tips and what you should do, and then the next slide is gonna be how to format it, and then you're gonna have to apply those 2 slides, so pay close attention. Here we go, high performance tips. Make sure that when you are sending emails or replying that you want to reply in a timely manner. So what is a timely manner? In the etiquette world, the timely manner is 24 hours from the time that the person sent the message. That's when you should be responding to their email. Some companies and some businesses have their own standard of when they want you to do it. I know that there's lots of companies who say as soon as you get it, you need to be replying. I know some companies that I work for say they inundated with all these emails, they don't even have time to hardly open these emails, which we don't even have time to go into how to handle that. So we're just gonna kind of stick to the basics right here. Always address the receiver by name. Use people's names. People like to hear their names, they like to see their names written. Use their names at least once in the message. Avoid all caps. Now, most everybody knows what all caps is, but if there's anybody out there that does not, all caps is shouting. And I have seen this right here is sometimes a pet peeve for people, and it causes like strife within an organization. So just be mindful, don't use all caps, okay? Make sure that you always check your speller, your grammar, and your punctuation. You want to add warmth to impersonal material. So you would put a greeting like, Dear Ms. Boudreau, or Dear Melanie, hope you are having a good day. That's all you need to put, something like that. You want to make sure that your subject line adequately addresses the letter, the typed message that you are sending. So you want to make sure for that. And use caution when forwarding your email, just like we just talked about text. Let me just say a little something about this right here. So I have lots of businesses and participants in businesses say, you know, God, I get carbon copied on everything. I don't need to be carbon copied on everything. It's just making my unanswered emails go longer. So just be mindful, do the CC people really need to know that message? Or can you just respond back to the sender of that message? So commas actually do save lives, especially grandmothers' lives. Let's eat grandmother, or grandma. Let's eat grandma. All right, y'all know I'm a grandma, right? So make sure you use your comma. All right, here's your email professional formatting. Professional formatting, are you ready? So you need to have a subject line, and when you use your subject line, you see right here it says use capital letters. So in your subject line for any email, you should have a capital letter for each one of the words except for the prepositions, like for the small words, right? So that's most professional. This is what I just talked about right here, is be careful who you CC and BCC. The next one is make sure you give a greeting. Message, make sure your message is simple and to the point. No more than 3 questions in the message, and you want to make sure that you have bullet points for clarity as well as a lot of white space. So you want to use paragraphs, so you want to have a lot of white space. You want to have a closing, and most places, most businesses that you will be in and encounter has an automatic signature line. So one of my things about the signature line and the closing is like best regards, sincerely, that's your closing. And then lots of people in their signature line puts their name so that they don't have to type their name again. If you want to make more of a personal touch, I say type your name in instead of having it on your signature line. I always type my name in. All right. So here's the activity. Ready? So I want you to respond, and Melanie and Jared's gonna let me know when you're responding. The first person to find 5 mistakes, I want you to click some kind of way, let us know you found 5 mistakes.
Send a thumbs up.
Do thumbs up. Mel said thumbs up. All right, ready? Look closely, look closely. 5 mistakes. There's a lot more than 5. You should see 5 right away. Anybody caught them? Are they coming?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go through it, everybody. So, first of all, if you had time to read through this whole thing, this is your subject line, and it does not match what this email is about. Okay, that's number 1. That's 1 mistake. The next one is, if you would keep this, the words are not nice should be capitalized, meat should be capitalized, you should be capitalized, and this word should be mean, it's meant. So that's spelled incorrectly. Mrs. Johnson, okay, so this is the person that you are addressing. In business, you should use MS for all females, MS. All right, and then some kind of, this could be either a comma or a colon, and it should have some kind of greeting in front of here. That's another one. It was nice to see you on Wednesday. Who got that Wednesday's misspelled? Yeah, you got it? I should be capitalized. Have a few questions about the upcoming training. Will someone be able to, that should be TO, meet me 1 hour before the presentation? The number 1 in a professional message, 1 through 10 should be spelled out. And 11 on up, you could write the numerals for that, all right? And so you should have a question mark right here. Capital, where should I park? Question mark. Capital, how many participants will I have in each training? I look forward to working, ING, with you, and you are a team, because this is you are right here. It should be your, Y-O-U-R, team. Best regard, Joe, and it should be best regards, Joe. All right, so what I'm gonna tell you about this is you don't see a whole lot of white space, right? And if you were the one who received this message, how easy would it be for you to answer these questions? So you want to think as the receiver when you are sending the message, all right? So think as the receiver, read as the receiver. With that being said, I also want to point out one more thing. In this email, the word I has been used quite a few times. I. Be mindful that it's not all about you. And it's coming across like it's all about you right here. So if you take your time to send it, you could reword it where you're not using I as much. Okay, here we go. This is what it can look like to be most professional. There. What? 3 questions. If you don't have time to look and read all my stuff, all you gotta do is to jump to the 3 questions, answer me back, and go about your day. Okay, so this actually is providing better service to your people. That's what this is. And it's also being more respectful, and it's also reflecting a higher level of work ethic, truly. So this is nonverbal communication. All right. Oh, so here's one more. I got permission to use this just recently. So this person right here, he works at K&D Machine, Nick Becknell, who I just would do a program on this topic for them because they knew this was kind of coming down. What I love about Nick is when he sends emails from his phone. We all send emails from our phone. We usually, lots of times you have autocorrect, the words are little, your phone's little, you can't really take the time that you would on your laptop computer to fix anything. So I love what he put at the bottom. Sent from mobile, please excuse grammatical mistakes. So I got his permission to use this, so thank you, Nick. All right. So this is the last slide, and I just want to throw in this because it has to do with conversation and words to use in conversation. So do say these things. Do use please, thank you, may I, excuse me, yes or no, my pleasure. This is some things you should avoid using in a professional conversation. Ready? uh-huh, yeah, nah, huffing or puffing or sighing too much is not professional. No problem. And the reason I'm telling you about no problem is I know that lots and lots of people are saying no problem today. But there is a large percentage of people who take offense to no problem. And for whatever reason that is. And we just need to be mindful that people do take offense to it, and that why we could just avoid any kind of conflict by not saying it, by saying it's my pleasure or thank you. And then there's one more, and this is the last one, and this one actually I just picked up at a restaurant. No, not just picked up because we hadn't been to restaurants in a while, but this was probably in the beginning of March. I was in a restaurant in Hammond and I was ordering, and I would say, I'll take some more, and the waitress said, gotcha. And then I said, okay, I want to order a salad, da 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 da. She said, gotcha. And everything I would say, she'd say, gotcha, and I'd be like, oh. So that was kind of, just be mindful, because it gets to be a habit. It doesn't mean that people are meaning ill will. It gets to be a habit, but it can get under people's skin. All right, I hope you enjoyed this part, and here's your virtual call session.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, guys, so I'm going to talk to you about virtual calls today, and I have learned a lot recently, being now that we are all a virtual campus at this time. So we're going to kind of go through some steps, and I'm going to share some stories with you guys that I have seen recently. So before the call, this has happened to me entirely too many times. I have twins, most of you know that. They are 5. One of them, my little boy Ethan, loves to pop in the camera and say hello to everybody. He has the personality, and my little girl wants to shy away. So, but they have definitely popped in my Zoom calls before, so I'm sure you guys have seen that if you've been in my classes. So, first, you want to secure a quiet room. That's really important, especially if your professor or the person that you're meeting with says you need to keep your microphone on. So like I said earlier in my introduction, we had 3 8-hour days of Zoom this weekend for my PhD program. So we had to keep our video on and we had to keep our mic on. So they wanted to make sure that we were paying attention all day, and if they would call on us, we had to answer. So just be aware of that. So I ended up sending my kids to my mom's house. And because there's no way that I could do that, but my dog was barking in the background. I'm sure you guys have seen that as well. So just make sure that you try to get as quiet of a room as possible. This one is really important. Keep the background neutral. We were doing, and I've done multiple Skype interviews even before we transitioned to online. So we've done Skype interviews, and we were interviewing a candidate, and the background was neutral, but I don't know if it was her dad or whatever, but walked through the hall, through the doorway, and you could see her dad in his pajamas walking through the hallway. So you want to try to make sure that that doesn't happen. And I also do, I know you guys know this, but we do video mock interviews in my classes, and some of you have had your roommates flushing the toilet, so you want to make sure that that is not occurring on your video chat. Make sure you light up your face. We were interviewing someone, and he was sitting outside, and just the way that the lighting was, we could not even see his face. We couldn't read his expressions on his face, so you want to make sure that the lighting is good as well in that room that you're using. Use a laptop, not a phone if possible. If all you have is a phone, if all you have is an iPad, that's great. But if you have access to a laptop, that has a secure connection, right, Jared? Yes. He's our tech guy. Yes, so you want to probably use a laptop if you can. Pre-test your equipment. That's so important. We did that for an hour and a half today. And last week we did it for 2 hours just to make sure that this would be up and running, because we didn't want all of you guys waiting on us and we weren't up and running. So we definitely did that for this event. Raise the webcam to eye level. That's really important, especially on your desktops. I've even put textbooks underneath my laptop to make sure that my camera was up, because I've seen in my classes, we do video mock interviews, and one video was literally, you could only see their mouth. That's it. So you want to make sure that they can see your whole face. I think that's really important. Oh, this is also really important. Dress the part fully. Even my mom mentioned today, maybe we could wear tennis shoes because y'all aren't seeing our feet. No, you want to make sure that you're dressed fully for the part. And I have a little current event because you guys know how I love current events in my classes. A Florida judge is begging his lawyers, to get out of bed and put clothes on while appearing in court on Zoom. So they were saying that one male lawyer appeared shirtless and one female attorney appeared to still be in bed. So you want to make sure, so he even sent out a news press. He was like, lawyers are to dress appropriately for hearings even when they are working remotely. So you want to make sure, what if you have to get up and go get something or something happens? You want to make sure that you're fully, dressed appropriately. And I'm sure you guys have seen videos of bloopers that have happened on Zoom calls lately. Okay, Zoom meeting, this is, one of my friends sent me this, Zoom meeting with audio only versus Zoom meeting with video. And in our PhD program, they make us have the video on all the time. So that's, we had to get dressed up, and that was probably the first time that I put on real clothes since we went virtual. Okay, so during the virtual call, you do not want to do this. I have seen many students where, I know now you can even put the background on Zoom where you can kind of hide out where you're at actually. But this is important. Look at the camera, not the screen when talking. I know that I'm guilty of that too because I'm trying to see what's going on. So you really want to try to make it to where you are looking at the camera. Avoid multitasking. I have a story about this. We were on a Zoom call for Easter. And we were all at my house. We Zoom, probably my brother, my stepbrother, and my stepsisters. There was probably 12 of us on this Zoom. And I could tell that my brother wasn't really paying attention. And so I sent him a text message on the side, "What are you doing?" Well, he was shopping online. So you want to try to avoid that because people can tell when you are not paying attention. Mute the mic when not speaking if that's an option because of the feedback. I'm sure you guys have seen that as well. Turn off all notifications. So you don't want to have people hearing, if they're sharing your screen or whatever, you want to make sure that that's all not coming on. Be careful when text box chatting. I know you guys are chatting right now and sending in comments and we're excited. Keep them coming, but just make sure that everybody can see. So that's important to know as well, right? Especially if you're in a business meeting. Try not to interrupt others. This is really hard because you have, we had 18 people on one Zoom. So you would want to see who's going to come up next. So what we would do is we would see if you unmuted your mic, we knew that you were the one that wanted to talk next. Or we would ask them to raise their hand. So that would be something that you would want to do to try not to interrupt somebody else. Make sure all other tabs are closed. If you share your screen, make sure you're not shopping at oldnavy.com where people can see whenever you share your screen. So that's really important. I miss Old Navy. Remember to arrive early. A lot of you guys did that today. We're excited. Thank you for doing that because we could chat with you before our meeting started. Because we've also had people where our meeting, we were waiting on them to join and they were having, issues, and this could have all been resolved if they would have pre-tested their equipment, like we said, right? Give a greeting, right? Say hi, introduce yourself. Say the name of your company. Say your first name, say it clearly. That's really important too because not everybody knows you. Use participants' names. This was, and again, I've done a lot of Skype interviews. My background is in HR, so I was an HR manager for years, and we've done Skype interviews. And one of the people that stand out to me the most are the ones that remember your name, and if they're answering your question, they will call you by your name. So they'll say, "Mary, thank you for asking me that question. That really meant a lot to me." So when you're speaking, this is important to know as well. The tone and the quality of your voice is very, very important. Up to, and I know my students know this, but up to 93% of all communication is nonverbal. So the way you stand. Your tone of voice is also included in nonverbal. Your posture. The way you sit on a job interview. So the way you sit in a meeting. So all of that is really important to remember. So like we said, be aware of your posture. Think and speak in a polite way. This is also very important for like interviewing skills, making sure that you are giving off the best impression possible. Speak clearly and slowly. I'm guilty of this. My mom's guilty of this. We're in South Louisiana. A lot of times we talk fast, so it's hard, but you want to make sure, especially on Zoom or on a business meeting, that you're speaking clearly. When you are not speaking, listen attentively, and you guys have done a great job of that today because we see your comments and we love that you have been participating. That shows that you are listening attentively. So if you do a head nod, and I do that a lot whenever we are Zooming, I'll see heads nodding and thumbs up, so that's awesome. And smiling, that's important too. But smiling is appropriate. Also, one of my friends sent me this, Zoom bingo. And maybe you have seen some of these while you have been Zooming, because I know a lot of you are Zooming now for meetings and in class. Wearing PJs. Forgetting to mute or unmute, we've had that as well. So people are yelling at other people in their households. Jared was saying how him and his wife are in the same room and it's hard for them to hear, so whenever they are both Zooming at the same time. A boring background. I'd rather you have a boring background than one where your dad walks through the hall, you know. Forgetting to hide your flask or your wine glass, right? Falling asleep, don't do that. So these are some funny ones. Eating something crunchy. Try not to do that and have your mic on, right? So this is a fun little thing that somebody had sent to me, and I wanted to show you guys that. Okay, and then we have Boots Clune, who is ready for his conference call now. We had to throw him in here. But now we're going to move on to the question and answer section. So I'm going to call Mary back up.
Okay.
Yeah. And I will go read some of the questions, and if you can answer. So we have a few minutes, right? What time is it?
We have about 17 minutes.
We have about,
We're good.
15 minutes or so,
That's right.
and I'll send the questions her way. So start typing in questions for us.
So lots of times what happens with questions for these sessions is people ask, well, what if I'm in this situation? What can I do about this situation? Or, you know, just asking about different situations. Is it okay to do this if I'm in this situation? So if you have questions like that, that would be great. If you have questions about any kind of communication, you know, possibly I could help you. So is anything coming up?
It's coming in a minute. It's kind of like a little bit of a delay, but people are saying, hey, that's me. I definitely did that fine.
Okay.
I guess I'll listen to these tips, you know? So we're having some.
You know, and keep in mind, this is new for all of us. So we're all learning this. So the learning curve, the good news is the learning curve is we're all in this learning curve. So that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. We redefining how we communicate. It's pretty cool. So I actually heard, as the questions are coming in, I'm gonna let you know that I heard this period of time that we are in, that we have entered, I heard it called the Great Pause. And I thought, oh, how wonderful is that term to use for right now. And I don't want to minimize anyone who's hurt or hurting, but we are in a great pause right now. And so we are reflecting, and we are slowing down, and we are being more mindful and more respectful. So keep that. Okay,
We have a question. What about a low background noise like a water heater?
Okay, so Melanie, what'd you think about that?
I think it's okay as long as it's not super loud. I think that as long as it's not distracting and as long as people can still hear you, I think that that's all right. But if that's the quietest place that you can go, then that's fine. But you could probably even ask people.
Yeah, you could ask them. And another thought that came to mind with that is if the water heater goes on and off. And so if it, excuse me, if it goes on and off, that could possibly be a little bit distracting. Let me just tell you what you can do here too. What you can do with this one is say, this was the only quiet room I could find, and you may hear my water heater go on and off, but this is the quietest place I could find. So then you're letting people know what's going on. Okay, we have another question.
Okay, we have another one. Can you turn your video off when not speaking, or do others assume you did so to multitask?
Okay, so can you turn your video off when not speaking? And will others think that you're multitasking? Am I right? Did I get that correctly?
Yes.
And so possibly they could. Yes, possibly they could. And so if it's a requirement that you keep it on, then you make sure that you're not multitasking and you keep it on. I'm gonna just give you a little something that I've done. So I did a Zoom call. I've done a few Zoom calls. And on one of my Zoom calls, I had a cup of coffee right there. And so I thought, well, I don't want to just drink my cup of coffee with everybody seeing me drink my coffee. So I didn't know how to, I didn't learn yet how to take off my picture. I had a little flap and I just covered on my computer, I just covered the camera, sipped my coffee. They couldn't hear me sipping my coffee because I was muted. And then when I was finished, I put it back up so they could see me. I think that is better to do than to be distracting on that Zoom call, because when you move, you're distracting, right?
Is it okay to adjust the way you format messages, interactions, based upon whom you work with and or the environment?
Absolutely. Okay, so if you are in a relationship, and if it's a work relationship, but this particular relationship, you have a personal friend, which happens everywhere, that becomes a personal relationship, then you can be more casual with your correspondence with those people. So that's a great question. Thank you for asking that.
What should you do if your boss uses a more laid-back, unprofessional tone through email or text?
Good question. And so what I would do with that, so this is what I tell people. I say, what feels right to you? And I say, maintain your integrity. So I worked somewhere already where the dress code was very, very lax. I had my business, so I was working 2 jobs, okay? And so I always felt like I wanted to maintain my integrity and what I stood for with my business. So I always did dress professional in this environment. So I think the same holds true with messaging with others. We have another one.
Is it okay to go outside when your house is too loud?
There again, I would say yes, you can. And I would just let the people on that Zoom call know, look, y'all, I have to be outside. My house is too loud right now, and I'm gonna stay muted unless if I need to talk, because that would help with that too. Okay, put your earphones in, make sure you can hear too, so that you can get all the information you need to get. Good questions.
Apple watches are definitely not professional, but how about an old style watch? Is wearing a regular watch part of a proper professional appearance?
Yes, you can wear your watch. You can wear any kind of watch. Just, I'm pointing out, just be mindful not to let your watch interfere with your communication, especially when you're face to face with people, most particular when you're face to face with them.
Going back to sending emails through your phone and modifying the signature line, the one Miss Mary showed us, is that professional and okay to use?
Okay, so which one was that? The email that I showed?
Mm-hmm.
The email that I showed is, yes, from your phone. Okay, so that's a good question. So when I'm replying back on my phone to an email, so it's gonna come out as an email for the other person. I always skip lines. I'll reply back. I'm gonna use Melanie, for example. Like, dear Melanie, thank you so much for contacting me and asking these questions. And I would spell it out, and then I would go back and I would space. If I had a question from her, I would put a bullet. The way I do a bullet on my phone is I put a little blank line, and then I space a little bit, and then you can see specifically where my questions are. I actually even like space, line, question, space, line, question.
Okay.
That's how I do it.
I live in a residence hall in a shared 1-bedroom apartment. There is little opportunity for privacy. What can I do to ensure high quality Zoom calls? Do you have any suggestions?
So in this facility, do you have any kind of breakout rooms downstairs or community rooms where you can get to the side? That would be something to check out. Another thing to check out would be possibly, I don't think libraries are open today, but a quiet place outside would work if the weather's good. I would definitely consider that and let people know that that's happening. So hang in there. I'm proud of you for hanging in there and doing that.
Sometimes you cannot eliminate background noises. I apologize in advance. My ceiling fan is picked up by the mic and it sounds like a constant thump on video.
So I love that. You apologize in advance and you just say that. And if you can take your ceiling fan off and still breathe and not be too hot, then just go ahead and take it off for the Zoom call. And if you need it, then it's okay to say it. It's all about communicating that. These are great questions.
Now with the new social distancing, will the etiquette of handshaking be considered inappropriate?
So, social rules of behavior always change, and we are in the midst of a massive change right now on social behavior and on what's civility and how do we care for others. And so this is what I have seen people do instead of give handshakes now. And so what they do now is they go like this, and they greet people like this. So I thought that, that's very appropriate.
Okay. How have you guys dealt with having a dog who barks at random noises? Mine does, Ashlyn. If I lock my dog out of the room, he will lay at the door and cry or scratch. It can be extremely distracting.
So do you have a kennel? My answer, put the dog in the kennel, in the laundry room or in the garage until you finish, if it's an important call. Okay, so if it's really important, I would find another location, or I would put the dog in the kennel or outside. That's what I would do.
If it's not that,
If it's personal,
Yeah.
But let me just tell you this too, with personal Zoom calls, if y'all are like doing where you have a little group, like a little Brady Brunch group Zoom call, mute your phone, mute it so that others don't hear it. Make sure it's not distracting you though, because you want to be you want to communicate with these people, you want to gather with these people, and your dog is taking away that attention, and that's not respectful to you. So maintain your respect with that too.
he is spoiled.
He's off.
Where should your phone be in a meeting? What happens if you get an emergency call, but your phone is on silent and not on the table?
Okay, so if you are in a meeting, this is what the recommendation is for that. If you're in a meeting and you think you may have an emergency call coming in. I was actually in that situation a few years ago where I was doing trainings like this, but live to people, and I never have my phone out when I'm doing these kind of trainings. But I was waiting for an emergency phone call. And so I began my meeting by saying, I told the group that, I said, I need to have this cell phone out. And if something comes up, I'm out of here. And until then, you get my full attention. So it's all about communicating that message. If you communicate it clearly and, come from your truth with it, you're gonna be okay. That's good questions. Anybody else?
Not right now, but Joseph did say I get a bone and put peanut butter on it and give it to the dog.
Thank you, Joseph.
So it keeps the dog busy,
So
quiet.
I heard that, but Joseph, and I'm not sure who Joseph is, but Joseph just puts a little peanut butter on a bone, gives it to the dog quiets down, enjoys the bone, and he gets to have a good conversation. All right. Well, y'all, thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for joining us. It has been indeed our pleasure. For sure, my pleasure. I know Melanie's too, and Jared has been a trooper with this. I'm so impressed with Jared. So if you have any other questions, I do go to companies and businesses, and I do this kind of trainings like this for all over, everywhere. So, or if you have further questions, if you want to ask me anything, this is my contact stuff. I'd love to have you on Instagram. I'm starting to have a bigger presence there, so I'm starting to kind of see what I can do with that. And thank y'all. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.